Welcome to The Finance Geeks, a podcast about real financial planning. Join us as we get into the nitty-gritty, discussing everything from pensions to portfolios. If you're into numbers, strategies, and running a successful practice, this is your ultimate geeky hangout.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 5 of the Finance Geeks podcast. Thanks for joining us. My name is Warren Shute, and I'm here joined by
Paul Cleworth.
And today we're talking about real-life financial success stories. So, Paul, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? 2 weeks since the last episode, of course. Managed to go to the Kimpton Christmas market with my children. That was fun. We didn't get the snow.
Was that irony there?
It was. Well, you see, we went. We did did the rounds, met the people, bought the hot chocolate, and went to the school and did the tombola and that sort of thing. But it felt a little bit rushed. And then my eldest Miles met up with, who's 13. He met up with some of his friends, and I sort of didn't see him after that. And my wife took Rory to art club at Hitchin Boys School, so she went off. So I'm there just walking around on my own. I went to the pub for a drink, for a pint of beer, nice pint of London Pride. And that was my little Christmas market. So other interesting things that I've been up to. On Monday last week, we had a big team lunch. I took the team out for dinner, for lunch, because we hit a milestone. We hit the 150 million of assets under management figure, and I said, let's celebrate it. You know, it becomes largely immaterial as you get bigger, and you don't focus on the assets or whatever. But you know, I'm really proud of what we did. So we did that, and then tonight we've got our Christmas do. It's the actual, not the team Christmas do. We're doing that next week at Centurion Club, but we're doing Christmas drinks for clients in London tonight at the Union Bar. So we're going to head off soon and hopefully not get a delayed train strike. A delayed train because there's been problems on the railway, but we're going down to the Union.
Nice, you're good. I don't do that. We don't do that. We have an event in the new year. We don't have Christmas drinks, but it's my Christmas party, the office Christmas party tonight.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Where are you having yours?
In Cheltenham. We're going to a steakhouse and a wine bar in Cheltenham, having a few drinks, get the wine flowing, get the steaks going. Vince, who is our editor, who does all this, Vince comes along and all the team and stuff. And it'd be great. It's normally a really good night. I normally drink way too much wine and stuff like that and say how lovely everyone is.
But you said in your little ramble this morning on LinkedIn that you're going to leave by 11. Your little video that you posted.
No,
are you really going to cut it, stop at 11 and then go home? You're going to be sensible?
I think inside us there's two selves, aren't there? There's the sober self when we say, yeah, I'm going to cut it short at 11. And then you get the party flowing and stuff and having a chat and having a giggle. And I've got to say, I think I've got one of the best teams I've ever had. And they'll start going, and I probably won't finish at 11. I'll be in the hotel.
Warren will say something else after he's had 5 glasses of wine.
We have a few of them stay over with us. So some of us are staying over in the hotel. So no doubt we'll carry on in the hotel bar. But yeah.
Do you know what else I did yesterday?
What'd you do?
I drove all the way up to Lee, which is near Manchester, and I went to a funeral. I went to my sort of uncle's funeral, and he's sort of my step uncle, if you like. So my Auntie Lizzie's sort of second husband. But I'm very sad that he's died and only aged 76. And I wanted to go and pay my regards, pay my respects, and that sort of thing. But it was nice to see lots of family up there as well, albeit it was a short visit because I had to drive up there and back in the same day, which was 7 to 8 hours of driving. But I thought, I'm going to make the effort. I'm going to go. And it's just made me realize, how short life is and how you've got to get on with it. But he had 327 people in the church that were there to celebrate his life, not his death, but essentially to pay their regards. And I was thinking, how many people would turn up at my funeral? Would it be half that, or would it be 10% of that? That's a testament to the fact that he was so well loved. He was called Vincent. Absolutely. He was called Vincent Marsh. Yeah, or he is called.
And
Vincent
what did Vincent Marsh do?
He was a mechanic. It was Marsh Motors in Lee. Yeah, he's for a long time. He was a mechanic, and that's probably why I know so many people. But he has lots of children and grandchildren and that sort of thing. So knew a lot of people, a lot of fun. But it just makes you think. When you've been around quite a long time being a financial planner, you've dealt with people who have died, who've had illnesses, and you deal with the fallout of that, and you're the one who remains calm and sorts out the financial aspect of it. But yeah, it all comes to a head. It all makes you think. So
It does. Yeah, no, it does. It does. I got to say, I don't like funerals. I really don't. Honestly, it's like, I don't
but you
know.
have to go. You go and
Yeah,
you listen, and
I know. I've kind of set myself a rule. If I haven't seen the person or spoken to them in the last 12 months, then I don't tend to go.
right, okay.
It's just a personal thing. I'd rather see them while they're alive and stuff like that.
Well, I'd
But
said to all my family and friends there, I'd rather be meeting under more joyous circumstances. So
sure.
the plan next is for me to arrange something for my 50th, which is in September 26th. So I'm going to
Yeah.
have a big bash and hopefully invite a lot of people. Um, you might even be on the list, Warren. You never know.
Hang on. It might be. You've said I am on the
Oh,
list. So
sorry, you are.
I
Yeah.
am. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I've just been bumped down the list. Like, it's
Bottom
like,
of the barrel. Yeah. Bottom drawer. Yeah.
I was like, if we can't fill the room, make sure you invite Warren.
Very good. Well, we've got to have a few laughs, haven't we? What have you been up to? Anything else besides the Christmas do tonight, which hasn't happened yet?
Crazy busy, crazy busy. So in good stuff though. So went to see Jimmy Carr with Ollie. That was a bit close to the edge, but it's fantastically funny.
Lots of swearing.
Lots of swearing, but also he's a very, very clever guy. His humor, and you think, oh, he's gone over the edge, and then he kind of brings it back and gives a little bit of respect to different people, and the audience claps. So he's a really clever guy, very good, hardworking too. Did I think 2-hour stint for us, went off, had a break, and then came back on, did another 2-hour stint for another audience.
Really?
So yeah. So
that's a lot, isn't it?
So we had that, and then about 2 weeks or a week after that, we went to see Chris Williamson, the podcaster.
Yeah, I know he is.
Common Wisdom, yeah.
Modern Wisdom, yeah.
Modern Wisdom, sorry. And I've never listened to his podcast. So I have listened to some of the Jimmy Carr ones since, but that's the only idea. What a wise man. Really, they're the words I'm going to use for him. Wise. I think he's like 36, 37 years old. And I really enjoyed it. I agreed with most of it. Some of the stuff I didn't agree with, but I thought is a great thing for my son who's 19. He listens to all this stuff. I thought, you know what? Of all the people he listened to, he's not a bad guy to listen to.
Yeah.
So
very
yeah,
good.
really,
I
really enjoyed
like him as well. I like him as well. I've done a lot of podcasts. He's up to like 850 or 890 or something.
We'll be there for you, know it. We'll be there for you, know it. Time in the seat. That's all it is. And talking about time, I did a time management course.
Oh, you did? Who did you do that with? Who with?
Next Action Coach or Next Action
Online,
Next Action.
or did you go
online? Yeah, online webinar. No, online webinar. Full day though, proper.
Really?
It was. Yeah. It was very good. Very good.
What did you learn that you didn't know already? What did you learn that was new? About how to manage your time.
Yeah, I think it's more. Sort of the strategy. Okay, good idea is an app. There's an app that I've got. Do you ever take photographs of things? I'll remind myself to do that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, there's an app you can use. Instead of it going on your camera reel, it just automatically sends it to your inbox. Brain toss. Okay, so
make sure I Google that correctly.
Brain toss. So it's a great app. So basically now, when I say, take a photograph, and it just automatically sends it to my inbox. So that it doesn't go on my camera or anything else.
Okay.
That just processing, just organizing your time and stuff. Very good. It's based on the Getting Things Done, Dave Allen GTD method, which is really good. So
it's a reminder, isn't it? It's a refresher course half the time. You go on these things and you think, right, I'll try something new, whether it's the photographs or a task list or a different color of highlighter or whatever it is. If you can get things done, it means try not to multitask. Start one thing, finish it. Usually. I agree. Know what, if you've not done it today, which day you're going to push it to and why. How do you prioritize? It's tough to prioritize. A lot of people, I think, struggle with prioritizing, especially their work life with their personal life, to get things done in both.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. And when you've got a team that you manage, and I think I've got one of the best teams at the moment, even helping them prioritize their workload and make sure they understand the implications. We have this thing, it was taught to me years ago about, well, if there's other people involved in the process, if you get that done, then you can kind of, what we refer to as pass the monkey. They can be working on it. So the job can be being done while you work on other things kind of thing. But also throwing interviewing in the mix as well takes time. We've been interviewing for a power planner. So that's taken a lot of time up. So,
how was Christian working out, your new advisor?
Brilliant. Yeah, really good. Yeah, really good. Yeah, so we gave him a 3-month training period. So you kind of come near the end of that end of December, and then January he'll start sitting in on meetings with me. But up until now, he's just been learning the systems, reading advice reports, reading minutes, that kind of stuff. Really, so we kind of have a quite an intense sort of training period. So they
You
get
have
to
to.
grips with things.
You
Yeah,
have
you
to, don't
do,
you?
because there's a lot to learn, a lot to pick up. He's qualified, he's chartered, but there's lots of processes and systems to pick up on how you
Of course,
operate and things
of
like that.
course.
Use
I've
and
got
stuff.
got another interview next week, a second interview with an administrator, potential administrator, and then had one just on Wednesday this week with a potential trainee paraplanner. So just come out of the blue, wanted to interview him, saw the CV, and thought originally just thought extra administrator, and then because this chap's local, met with him, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to go to a second interview with him, but
Great.
as part of what you've said there about getting things done, you get to a certain size, you think, I can't just stay where I am. I've got to keep growing. I've got to keep
Yeah.
the cogs turning. How am I going to do it? You can't just get rid of lots of clients. You can move clients on if you like, or sell the client part of the client bank. I don't want to do any of that. Instead, you think, how can I be super efficient? And one of the things you have to consider doing is taking on more staff and growing the team. Because if
Yeah.
you're not moving forward, you're stagnating a little bit, aren't you? You do
Yeah.
have to do that and take on new clients as clients get older. So I've thought that's the next step for myself: take on some more staff, and then sort of take a step back a bit, or rather slow down insofar as it's going to take time to train them and bed them into the process. So as in not take on lots of new business for the next 6 months maybe. And I'm very excited though. It is
It is,
exciting because it's a
it is
challenge to
exciting.
take someone under your wing, and it'll not just be me training them up. It'll be Kevin and Catherine as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
there's
nice. It's
it
good.
is.
It's the new energy that comes in with new staff, and also their new ideas. We really embrace their ideas because they come up with some great ideas. Think, oh, I didn't think of doing it that way.
So it's delegating and empowering, because when people are good, you let them get on with it. You empower them to get on with their job. And I think that if you've got a big list of things to do as part of the team process, it's delegating certain things to other people as well, so you can get on to do what you're best at. If you're best at seeing clients, do that. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So, Paul, move
So we're
on to
going to
the
talk
main
about our focal point, aren't we?
our main focal point: real life financial success stories.
I suggested this to yourself as a topic, because a lot of the times we talk about strategy and product and talk a bit about round the edges, and I think that in a lot of the podcasts I listen to, there's not many that talk about an example or multiple examples of actual client work that you've done, without divulging too many specifics, and obviously without breaking confidentiality, but just sort of saying, this is the period of time that it occurred over, this is what I did for them, and this is what I think that we achieved. So I wanted to do that today, but before we give our examples, if you like, I think it's important to sort of talk about what success means,
Yeah.
and give some form of a definition, your own personal one or one that you like, and then later we'll talk a bit about what financial freedom means, because when we talk to clients about that concept, you'll explain it slightly different to myself. And then, as part of this process, to explain what it is that we do as an advisor, to allow the client to be successful, to achieve their goals, to achieve financial freedom. So let's start by me asking you first of all, how would you sort of define success?
It sounds a very flippant response,
Yeah.
but I genuinely define success as happiness.
Right. Okay.
I think in life people mask really what they're looking for and looking to achieve. They call it different things, but ultimately all that we all want is happiness and love. And we might say we want to be leaner, we want to be fitter, we want to be richer, we want a bigger family. I was going to say another family then, and all this. But really, I think all those things are means to an end value, which is happiness. So success, we talk to our clients a lot about happiness and what brings you happiness and what more, how can we achieve more happiness in your life, kind of thing.
Sure. Sure.
So
Jimmy Carr that you talked about earlier, he did a little meme or a little video that came up in my feed recently, and he mentioned, there's it's we're the in the smallest percentile of luckiest humans to ever have lived today, given what we have. We've got running water and a good calorific intake and hot showers and things that they just didn't have 100 years ago, even.
yeah,
And he sort of said that your happiness is your expectation levels minus envy, because a lot of people today are
yeah,
not happy because they're constantly comparing themselves to others,
yeah,
and even though they have all of these things, they have Netflix and they have, hopefully food to eat and a place to sleep, and they have lots of scientific developments and medicine and so forth. We have a lot of these things, but we just take it for granted, and so the expectations are either too high, or you're comparing yourselves to others, and you say, "Well, I can't be happy now because I don't have this, or my
Yeah.
neighbour's got more than me, so when I get that, that's when I'll be happy." But
But I don't want to jump to what how financial planners help their clients achieve their goals, but helping them to be grateful for what they have and
yeah,
appreciate. And when when marketers say what sort of niche do you work with, stuff like that, I think pretty much we're family stewards.
sure,
Our clients pretty much are all very appreciative, very grateful, the kind of stuff that they've got and the lifestyle they've got and things, and that makes our job a lot easier. We're not
yeah.
generally working with people who want to try and I don't know, take over the world kind of thing.
Maybe
They
you've
just
selected the clients well, or got lucky, or
yeah,
through the relationship with yourself, it's developed to the point where you sort of see the same vision, and
yeah,
you've talked about happiness and achieving your outcomes and that sort of thing. Um,
yeah, yeah,
and it's a process. I mean, I think a good definition of success is the achievement of a goal or the fulfillment of a purpose that aligns with your values and brings a sense of meaning, satisfaction, and growth. So we talk to clients about their goals, but that's
yeah.
got to be a personal goal to them, and it's got to be in alignment with their values. So it's not just about reaching a destination; it's also about how you grow, how you contribute, and you stay true to yourself along the way.
Yeah, no, no, 100% with that. 100%. In where you said it's not about just achieving the goal; it's about the journey and stuff like that. We often talk to our clients about habits as
Yeah, yeah,
opposed
yeah,
to the end result. It's like so a classic example is I want to lose a stone in weight. It's like, well, rather than have that, we can have that as an outcome, but what habits are we going to form to make it? We're going to try and do some kind of social exercise where we meet other people and paddle, the sort of the new tennis game thing, seems to be quite popular now with a lot of our clients and things. So they do activity, but it's socially, so they're enjoying themselves. And I
yeah,
think if you're happy and enjoying yourself, you're going to do it more often.
yeah.
So it
But
makes it
part
a
of
lot
your
easier.
job is to inspire the client and to give them options and ideas. And when you said earlier that success in your brief definition was sort of happiness, it's quite hard to measure that. It's quite hard to measure happiness. And I think if you were to lose weight and then you say you can measure yourself because you can weigh yourself, and I think it is important to have a goal that is measurable in some way. So if you're going to try and achieve success, when we talk about achieving goals, that could either be financial stability, getting to a certain point where you achieve financial independence. It could be strong relationships. It could be personal fulfillment. It could be leaving a positive impact on the world. Those things are all very deeply personal, and I think success is it can vary between people to people. But if you don't establish what the client's version of success is with them, and what the end goal is, where are we trying to get to, you're never going to get there.
Yeah.
It's not. You're right. It's about the journey. It's not just about getting to the destination. But how do we appreciate these things along the line? How do we measure them?
Yeah, 100%. I think we do that for some clients, but we tend to talk more about values with all clients.
Yeah,
So if I give you an example, we've got and she was actually one of the stories that I can talk about later, an 80-plus-year-old widow. She doesn't have any goals. She doesn't really want to achieve anything. But when I ask her what's important to her in life, she'll tell
mm,
me what her values are. And we spend our time making sure she does those. So for some of our clients, there's another guy I was going to talk about. He's set up a great business. It very much is financial focus, goals, and personal, dare I say it, relationship and health for him to make sure, he's all rounded. And he's that way inclined. He's very driven, young, into his 50s, I guess. Whereas the older clients, it's more values based. So it's
yeah.
like, okay, I'm kind of happy. I don't really want to achieve anything more. And I'm in my later years and stuff. But what brings you happiness?
I think because you've done NLP and you've done life coaching, and you're bringing in these elements into financial planning. So
Yeah,
the perception of financial planning for lots of clients, for example, to meet an advisor like yourself for the first time might be, oh, you're going to sort out my pension and my ISA, and so
Yeah.
instead of starting to talk about, their values, what is it about money that's important to them, and to talk about the deeper questions, and it's a difficult thing, because unless you've got, prepared as the advisor to drill down on those things, you're setting yourself up for failure, because the client is going to judge you based on if you talk about investments or tax saving or just a technical blurb. On what? On the growth, on the performance.
Yeah.
You can certainly build a trusting relationship with the client on that, but just helping them do things, answer their calls and emails, and get back to them and do what you're going to say. But you can create a much more meaningful relationship and build that trusting relationship if you, I suppose, encourage the client to think more, to get them to
Yeah.
sort of take a step back from their day-to-day life, ideally in a place away from their home, their home, so they come to see you. That works better, I think. So they can say, let's just have a chat within these four walls. Let's get down to it. What is it about that's important to you? What are your values? What are
Yeah.
you trying to achieve? What's going to make you happy? Because
Yeah.
if your version of success is to earn £1 million, or uh, buy a £2 million house, or whatever it is, it's very difficult to sort of be happy along the way if that's the only goal, because you think,
Yeah.
well, I'll only be happy when I get there.
In we do a lot of challenging people's outcomes. So they'll say, I want £1 million. So what? Why do you want £1 million? Explain to
Yeah.
me, what does that give you? What does earning £1 million give you? What does it? And they might be quite, well, okay, when I earn £1 million, I can do this, this, and this, help my mother out, put my kids through school, and there's some justification behind it. But if it's very weak and the spectrum, well, I see that as a success.
Mm.
And one of the things Chris Williamson did say, which I really liked, was, don't tell me you're going to celebrate when you achieve your goal, because do you remember celebrating when you achieved your last goal? And I was like, wow, that's quite profound.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we can be so focused on our outcome, achieving our outcomes, our goals, and moving forward, actually we just push past them. It's like, fair play to you. Congratulations to you for taking the team out, hitting that milestone. 150 million is a very a massive achievement. Taking everyone out, celebrating it, so you remember it.
Absolutely. And someone's told me before, someone a little bit wiser than yourself said about celebrating the small wins. And
Yeah.
so, it could be a birthday, it could be someone's passed an exam, it could be someone's passed the driving license, whatever it is. You can't,
Yeah.
spend every minute of every day celebrating, but you can recognize these points and say, let's just do something about it, rather than just aspire for more, and keep shifting the goalpost constantly. So, but
100%.
kudos to you for challenging them. I would implore any advisor listening to this to challenge their clients more, not in a defensive way or patronizing way or anything like that, but just to get them to really think and ask and play devil's advocate. What is it about that? Why would you like to achieve that? Come on, tell me a bit more.
100%. One of the best ways of doing it is almost acting dumb. Can you explain to me? I don't quite understand. Why is it you want to earn £1 million? Or I just don't quite understand. What is it about a £2 million house that's important to you?
Yeah.
You just get them to feel, and then they think, oh, I got to help him by explaining, or help her by explaining back to them, what's actually going on. I often talk to my clients and say, hey, look, I remember my 13th birthday, but I don't remember my 14th. I remember my 18th birthday, but I don't remember my 19th.
Yeah.
If you want to have memories to look back on in later life, you have to make these celebrations. And I used that the other day. We had a client who was well, the wife wanted to do it, but the husband didn't, and that was an Antarctica holiday cruise. I'm not sure what it was. It was like £15,000 each, and they couldn't. She was all up for it, he wasn't, and they were going back and forth. And I basically said that, hey, look, life's about creating these memories that we can look back on. We're not going to look at our bank account and say, oh, great, my bank balance was that, or my investment portfolio was that. But we will remember these trips. And I said, I remember my 13th birthday. I remember my 14th.
Yeah.
And I think those things can stick with clients.
But you're inspiring clients there. And something else that you mentioned earlier on that I like, that I want to pick us back up to, is holding the clients accountable. I've when you start talking about their values and their goals, and the client tells you that they like going on holidays, you've then got to say a couple of things. One is, well, when was your last holiday? And then get them talking. Or have you got anything booked for the future? Where would you really like to go? And then in the future, saying, giving them permission almost to spend their money, and helping them make that decision. And I think a lot of clients now that are in the decumulation phase, the drawing income phase, I'm helping them spend their money, feel good about it, and to set it up just strategically to have money come into their bank account every month and saying, look, you've told me you want to do this. This is a fair amount to spend. Are we agreed? Yes. Go on book it now. Go and enjoy yourself.
Best marketing you can do, non-agenda calls to your existing clients. Don't worry about attracting new clients, stuff like that. Even if you've got 20 clients, just ring them up, check in on them. Hey, if you book that holiday you mentioned, and just try and encourage them to do the things that are important to them, because nobody else is holding them account. When you leave school, nobody holds you account personally. You might get held account by your boss if you're employed, but encouraging your clients to do things like you're saying is invaluable.
Your partner might, your spouse might hold you to account, your parents might, your brother and sister might. But you're right, we get so wrapped up in our own little worlds, and especially if people are so engrossed in their job, they don't get the time or spend the time or take the time to think about what they really want to achieve. Hey, listen, I wanted to just take this back a bit because I had a really interesting conversation with a client a week and a bit ago, and I booked an appointment with him for next week. And it was what was interesting to me, and a reason why you'll see why it's relevant now is this chap's 42 and his partner's 38, and pretty successful. Good income, 6-figure income, bought a house, got a bit of a property portfolio. But the reason why, and I've actually known him for about 9 or 10 years, doing a bit of foreign exchange and that sort of work with him. Anyway, what I found what was interesting, his partner had sort of tapped him on the arm and said, come on, let's think about the future. Have we got a plan? Are we organised? We've got these pensions all over the place. We've got assets all over the place. We might think about having getting married and having a child at some point. And they had that deep, meaningful conversation. But what was interesting to me is there's a lot of people out there that just don't have that sense of focus. They're perhaps disinterested in finance. It can be seen as boring. It can be they might be lethargic and saying, well, I've got to find an advisor first, then I've got to sit down with them, then I've got to complete all these forms. And finance in itself can be super confusing and complicated. And they might have this level of apprehension, before going to see someone. But I know that if I sit down with them and start to talk to them about, cash flow modeling and cash flow planning and just simple things like budgeting, get them to commit to paying money in, they're just about of the age now where we can do it. If they were 10 years older, it's just really difficult, even if you're on a good income, to build a big pot. And it's about getting started. So once they need direction and strategy, but there's a lot of people out there that just don't have that guidance. They don't have someone to say, right, let's do this. Let's put these together. Let's do these regulars. Let's overpay debt.
Even, questioning the answers they give you when they come in. So it's like, are you married? No. Would you hope to marry one day?
Yeah.
Just probing. I even have asked clients, you married? Are you happily married? Will you remain married? Because you need to know this sort of stuff. Honestly, I say,
wow, that is straight to the core, isn't it?
Hey, sometimes they've looked at each other and said, "How did you guess?" We've thought about a couple of times separating and stuff like that. And that opens up. Talk about go to a deeper level with your clients very, very quickly. You got to do it. You got to have rapport, and you got to do it nice and gently and stuff. But your outcome isn't to take instructions. Your outcome is to try and make their lives great. To add value to them, to really make a difference. So
yeah, you've heard of the expression "advisor alpha."
Yes, yeah.
And it's trying to define how much value the advisor can add, how much value that the advisor can add. Usually shown as a percentage or whatever. But in preparing for today's discussion on client success stories and giving an example, which we'll do in a bit more detail shortly, it made me sort of think, what is it about the relationship I've got with that client and about the person themselves that's enabled them to achieve success and build a big pot of money and do all of these things? It's like you've got a checklist. They've bought their ideal home, they've paid off the debt, they've had kids, the kids have been to school, the kids are done, and they're financially independent. They've saved up ISAs and pensions, and I think it's interesting because the couple that I'm going to talk about later, they've sort of done all the things I've recommended, and they've been with me for 13 years, so since 2011. And I think it's partly because we've got the relationship that I don't know whether it's luck or everything, just the stars were aligned, or the relationship really worked, or they just did as I suggested. They've got this really successful outcome that I've noticed. It's not just in the monetary figures; it's the fact that they're now living this life of financial freedom, of independence, and doing what they want to do. The numbers are immaterial. It's the fact that they're happy, as you said, and it's enough for them. And You can get the client with the most amount of money if they don't relate to you and don't actually take action and then hold
Yeah.
themselves accountable and review things and say, am I on track? Am I on track? It's just not going to work. They're not going to ever going to really achieve those goals that we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah. Clarifying what the client wants, challenging it, making sure it's really what they want and not just giving you lip service, and there's some value behind it, and then helping your clients meet those and live those values.
When I was thinking about how a financial planner can help, I came up with my 7 points. Do you want to hear my 7 points? I'll tell them quickly.
I would love to.
So they relate partly to what we've just said. So number one is to understand their vision of success, right? Number two is to set clear, achievable goals. Number three is to provide education and empowerment. You do that as the advisor. Number four is to encourage purposeful spending. Number five is to promote discipline and patience. Number six is to adapt to life's changes. And number seven is to inspire mindset and behavioral growth.
Look at that. You could be a life coach.
So there's actually one more I forgot after this, which was number 8, which was, I said 7 before, it's 8, is celebrate milestones. It's not something you can do in an hour or 2 hour meeting. I think any successful outcome that's achieved with a financial planner is done over a period of time. There's just too much to do on day one. You know, you might start with the clients in their late 20s or 30s, buying them a house, helping them buy a house if you do mortgages. You might get the protection sorted for them. And with the clients that we would see that are often 40s, 50s, 60s or older, you know, you might be consolidating pensions, investing their money. And a lot of what I know that I do at the moment is now it's reassuring clients, trying to inspire the clients, focusing on their mindset, their health, their behaviors, and making sure that they are enjoying their money. You know, that they're doing all the things that they said they want to do.
100%. Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's the most important thing, because sometimes people need permission to enjoy their money. They don't have just like we don't have a savings or investment strategy before we meet someone who has experience. Quite often we don't have a spending strategy either. We don't know how much we can spend. And often if they have money, they spend too cautiously, hence why they have money.
Yeah.
But you know, just giving them permission to spend. I've got, like I think I've said before, I've only got one client who makes me squint a little bit with the spending that they do, and I wonder whether that
makes you squirm a bit.
Yeah. I wonder if that's me, as in it's my hang up, or whether actually they are. But you know, based on the assumptions in the plan, they're going to be okay. But I just want to make sure they really do appreciate those assumptions.
So the other at the beginning, we talked about success stories, but also achieving financial freedom. So let me just before we go into these examples, tell me what you think that means to you and how you explain what achieving financial freedom is, what the key aspects of financial freedom are in your mind.
We talk about financial freedom, and we talk about being free from the worries of money. If you're listening to this and you don't have much money, I assure you there are worries when you don't have money, when you have a bit, and then when you have a lot. You just worry about different things. And that could be you're worried about the tax, the volatility, not working it hard enough, succession planning, or whatever it might be. So we talk to clients about the freedom from the worries of money, and that's what our service does. Our service offers, you know, giving you freedom from the worries of money.
I like the expression, you know, just control what you can control and don't worry about the rest. And I remember them saying that to me. It's when I did door-to-door sales, because we had targets to meet, and you know, you think, you know, I can control the number of demonstrations I do, the number of doors I knock on, and you know, people say no, they say no, move on. You know, so I also, in regards to what you just said, then what came to mind was the silent killer, stress. You know, a lot of people are stressed about money, about not having it, about not having enough, and about having too much, bizarrely, but it's still a stress. And you know, you have to sort of be level-headed about these things, because you can't expect to just double your salary overnight. If your goal is to be successful, and to you that means earning a certain amount of money or doing a job that pays enough to live, let's say that's a teacher or a nurse, if you want to do that, then do that. You know, you can't then compare yourself to someone who happens to earn, you know, 3 times as much pay. But anyway, other aspects of financial freedom. You stole my first one. Obviously, we think alike. Number one was freedom from financial stress.
Yeah.
Number two, I think, when you achieve financial freedom is having control and clarity. It's knowing where your money's going, having a clear path of how you're going to manage it and how you're growing it, and being intentional about spending and saving in line with your priorities. I think that any client that achieves, I say, financial independence, they've got enough income coming in so they can decide whether to work or not. And it's nice to have that control. But on the flip side, you can be too controlling. You can be too sort of you're in this growth mindset for 30 years building your wealth, and it's a very difficult switch to flick to say, right now I have to start spending it, because as you always say, Warren, if you don't spend it,
Somebody else will.
someone else will.
Yeah, your daughter or your son-in-law or the tax man.
It's and then the third thing is to an aspect of financial freedom is flexibility and options, because money gives you options, doesn't it? It gives you choices, and it's the ability to make life choices, whether that's retiring early or changing careers or traveling, but without the worry from finance. And then my last two on this subject are alignment with goals and values. If you're going to achieve your financial freedom, you've got to use your wealth to support the things that matter to you, such as family or experiences, causes that you care about. Oh, and my last one was sustainability, having a plan in place that ensures that your money lasts as long as you do, because you don't want to run out. And it's a difficult balance, isn't it? You want people to spend the money, but you don't want to run out. And you're like, oh, yeah. And that's why the annual check-in, the annual planning meeting is super important. And then you say you don't have to worry for another 12 months.
Should we move on to some
examples? Yeah, why don't you start? I've been rabbiting on for a bit. Tell me your example of someone that you've helped achieve success or financial freedom.
It's a tricky one, because I don't know, if I'm honest, I found this really hard because I don't know really what you want to hear. I know you're a specifics kind of guy, and you'll reel off the inflation rate as every year that they're a client of yours or something. But I'll give you one. So we'll call them John and Jenny, not their real names, obviously. But John and Jenny were both employed. But John really wasn't happy or doing very well. He was doing well, but he was underachieving in his job. And his relationship broke down with his wife. They decided to part very, very amicably. In fact, I did the matrimonial distribution for them and agreed all their assets stuff. They went and got a lawyer and got a divorce. Yeah. And they're both still clients. And we worked mainly with him to clarify, what his outcome was. What did he really want to do and achieve in his life? And that was running his own business. We wanted him to set his own business up on his own. But it wouldn't be fair to say that he probably was a little bit nervous to do that. He wanted some camaraderie. So he went in business with another person. Very, very quickly, he done incredibly well. So he probably went from earning something like 60-ish thousand pounds a year, maybe 70,000 pounds a year or something like that, over a relatively short period of time. And I'm talking maybe 7 years or so, to earning several £100,000 a year. Going from having no money, maybe 30 or so thousand pounds invested or something like that, to if not a million, approaching $1 million, thereabouts $1 million in a very short period of time. Yeah, the type of work that he's in allowed him to very much accelerate and put money aside. And he's done that through property and equity investing and stuff like that, commercial property, not residential. And to sort of build this, and he now runs this company on his own. Him and his business partner didn't work out, so he carried it on his own. But we've kind of been the steward for him. We've been there, guiding him, helping him. And I think, if you probably were to take away the core principles of what we've done over time, it's very much, given him a north point to point towards, given him an area to say, okay, this is what you're looking to achieve. This is what your outcome is. Taking risk off the table, stopping him doing silly things. When people run their own business, they think they can do this, that, and the other. And we're like, look, you've got a cash machine here generating you this much money every month. Do you really want to jeopardize it for this silly little venture or this silly little thing that you're doing? We've learned over the years that people, when they're very good at one thing, they then generalize and they think they're very good at everything. So just because I can sell ice creams, I now think I can run a gym, or I now think I can run a machinery workshop. You might be able to, but it's unusual. Stick with what you're good at. Just focus on it. Keep your head down and spend time doing the things you really enjoy. And now, not now, but his children are sort of changing, but it's the education fees planning and making sure that that's really important to him. That's his biggest value. His relationship's there with his wife, his ex-wife. He's an incredible human being. He's had some kind of tragedy as well. Some people have not been well and stuff in his past, and just sort of guiding him through that, both emotionally and with the finances, giving him permission and knowledge that he can do certain things, really makes, I think, our job really rewarding. So yeah, that's the kind of story that I was going to share.
And he's obviously financially successful. When you meet with him, do you meet in person, or do you have a Teams? Or
Oh yeah,
you
no,
meet
in person.
when
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
a meeting, can you just tell from their mannerisms, the way that he talks to you, the things that you discuss, that he's feels successful, and that he's just got that sparkle? Because a lot of times people they achieve their goals, and then when they stop work or whatever, and they do something else, they just feel a bit lost because they don't have that sense of satisfaction or purpose anymore. Does he have that?
So he's still working. He's still working. Yeah. So he left his employed role, set up his own business, and he's still working at it, and the business is still growing
And enjoying it.
Yes, yeah, loving his business. I can't see him ever stopping work in that respect. Our definition of success is happiness. Is he truly happy? I don't think so yet. I think he's on the journey there. I have a belief, and it might be limiting, but I have a belief that most people want to be in a relationship. Doesn't mean you have to be married or anything else, but you need to have that. And at the moment, he doesn't have that. But it's no fault of his own, and I'm sure it will happen. So that's, he's still going through. He's still part of the journey and stuff, and that's a different client. But I actually did say to a client once that I would disengage her if she didn't stop. She was a prolific property buyer. She had a big property portfolio. She didn't stop buying property and went and started dating. And we put a dating strategy in place for her.
Oh wow, Doctor Shute.
Well, what is most important to you? I
Love
said, what is you talked about in her definition of success, her vision. Sometimes people think in images. And I said, well, explain to me, what does it look like when you're a successful evening? And it was nothing other than coming home to a fire on and cuddling up to my partner, having a glass of wine. And I said, well, why don't you pursue that? Why are you pursuing more property? Because property was easy, and it gave her confidence. She could do that. Going after a partner, the other sex, and building a relationship, she'd had so many failed experiences. So I said to her, well, look, we've been through this a couple of times now. I will not see you next year if you bought another property and you've not been on dating apps. You don't have to have a relationship, but you need to have a strategy and work your. Anyway, she's now in a relationship.
So. I think that's fascinating, because for the fact that you're prepared to go to those lengths with your client to help them achieve their goals, their victories, their version of success, shows that you care and that you are doing a good job. So well done, Warren.
Thank you. And that's why I love what I do.
Keep up the good work.
It's a great job. It's a great business, How about you? Come on, share yours.
So they're not called this, but I'm going to call them Bob and Sue. So married couple, currently early 50s, about 53, 54. But they achieved financial independence at 52. So this chap actually used to work in the city, earned good money, worked in finance, and they've got two girls, and girls are all grown up now. But the reason I chose him as an example here is I've worked with this chap since 2011, and when someone's already in finance, they've usually got an indication of what makes growth happen. They understand that you've got to put money in, that you need to continue to put regular premiums and lump sums in, that you need to let the markets do their thing, and you need to largely be in equities. So he happens to be in 100% global equities. And in this period of time, in 13 years, he's achieved, this is where Stato comes in, 111% is return on his investment. He's paid in 1.151 million, and he's got a pot of 2.43 million. So he's we've made him over 1.27 million pounds. The internal rate of return, the money weighted rate of return, net of all costs, is 8.41. And I feel incredibly proud that I've helped him. I mean, the markets did the work ultimately, but by helping the client put money in, fill his ISA, fill his pension, and stay the course, we had that compounding effect over a really good period of investing monies. And he suffered the downturns like everyone else during the pandemic and in 2022 and so forth, when Ukraine-Russia war, all of that. So experienced volatility, but just staying to it. And now what's interesting as well is, he only needs about 6 or 7,000 a month. I know that's a lot. Depends on who's listening. But they're getting 9. So he's actually, he had plenty of money, and they spend time now doing, things that they love. He likes pottery and yoga, and the simple pleasures in life, like having a coffee, and having a
Yeah,
good night's sleep and walking your
yeah,
dog. So it's
yeah,
I'm just feel thrilled that they are now have made the decision. I'm inspired by this chap because he's in his early 50s, has said, I've had enough of work. 30 years in the city is enough for him, and he now wants to spend time with his family and with his kids and with his dogs, and he's like, good, perfectly happy with that. And
yeah,
that's what's
yeah.
amazing to me, that he's just doesn't need the power trip, doesn't need to be in charge and be a manager anymore. He's decided that's it now. It's enough.
Yeah. And if I was to share any other stories, I think they're very, very similar in their approach. It's basically clarifying the outcome for the client, what they want to achieve, the financial independence, the freedom, the
Yeah.
security, and helping them work towards that, and then putting things in place. What's really reassuring, it sounds an awful thing to say this, isn't it? 'Cause you don't wish it upon anyone, obviously, but when one of the clients dies and you know that the spouse is going to be okay,
Completely.
typically.
If you know that you've done your
Mm,
job in encouraging them to get a will, and then hopefully reminding them and making sure they do,
yeah,
ideally making sure they've got LPAs in place, you've done the expression of wish on their pension, as you say, that there's protection in place if needed, or that
yeah,
there's enough assets. If one dies, the other's going to be financially okay. And that gives both of them peace of mind, you know,
yeah,
because they know that the other is going to be okay if they've set it up correctly. The other reason why I'm so pleased with this example I gave is because, and the reason why I think it worked for me is, and him, is because he did as he was told. I mean, I, it's all well and good you giving great advice. If your client doesn't take that advice up, it is useless, quite frankly.
yeah,
And you can't make everybody do things, but I think it's because we saw eye to eye and we're like, right, let's pay down this debt. So it was interesting. Instead of the complexities of having lots and lots of buy to lets, lots of esoteric investments, we had a big, quite expensive main residence. Residents went up in value because they did extensions, and they knew they loved doing home improvements, but they knew in their hearts that if in the location where it was, if we do this up, we're going to get a lot of money. We'll sell it. We'll not pay any CGT because it's our residence, and we'll downsize to a smaller house. We'll pay off the mortgage, and then we're done. And they
yeah,
accepted that that's what the plan was going to be. And so
yeah,
that in itself is hugely tax efficient. If you want to make a load of money on property, you can buy a very expensive home, do it up, extend it, sell, and buy to something smaller. That
yeah,
works wonders. If
yeah.
you try and
No,
do that with lots of buy to lets, it's incredibly tax inefficient.
and I think the common thread between any story that we would share would be that we clarify things that what client wants. The client follows our advice, and there is a disciplined approach. Probably going back to your 7 points that they're regularly investing, they're putting money aside.
Completely.
But as financial planners, if a client isn't listening to you, feel free to disengage them. During the pandemic, we had one client who didn't listen to us. He was in a relationship with a director or something of the NHS. She was saying that it was going to be Armageddon, the world's going to end kind of thing. He was freaking out. He wanted to switch into cash. We really didn't want him to switch into cash. He insisted he switched in cash, and we said, well, basically, we will do it for you. We'll take your instructions, but we'll disengage you as a client if we do that. And that's what we did. Transferred the money off. And then, of course, what happened? The markets rebounded like a elastic band, like they always do. And he crystallized his 10-20% loss, or whatever it was, 30% loss, and then the markets rebounded.
Yeah. When I find, and it doesn't happen that often, it's fairly seldom that a client really does the opposite to what I'm suggesting. I've made it super. I'm not always disengaged with them, but I've made it super clear in all of the emails, the letters, the documentation. This is against my advice. And again, you can't make people do it, but I think it's with that other chap, because he understood that it was a process, that it takes time, that you have to put money in. He just benefited from compounding and all the little
Yeah,
things, and we saw eye to eye. And
yeah,
that as a relationship means that, and we kept it simple. As I said, it was just a simple 100% equity portfolio. His home, his residence, and it does help when you've got a good starting base and a good income to build it. But even
it
if you're
does.
starting on a low base salary, you can build your assets over time through habit and regular premium and compounding. But you have to get
It,
started.
it's the snowball, and I say that's why I don't deal with them as much anymore. When I speak into schools, I always talk to the kids about the snowball. It's like a snowball. When you start, wealth is a snowball. You start very small, And you don't really notice any different until the momentum builds. And then all of a sudden you look and you think, crikey, going from 0 to 1 million took me a long time. Going from 1 million to 2 is a lot quicker. 2 to 3, it just accelerates.
Yeah.
It just accelerates. So,
Definitely.
So
on that point, can we have a couple of quotes? Or I think the anecdotes will give a miss because we've just told some stories. So have you got any quotes on success?
I've got 2 quotes for you. 2 quotes. First one's from Warren Buffett. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. And I think what he's really saying there is like, you need to invest, particularly in the UK, because the markets will be open the whole time. And then you can just make money in the markets while you rest. Yeah. And then the second quote is from Charlie Munger. The big money is not in the buying and selling, but in the waiting. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, very good. But both references, I mean, they obviously knew each other, were best pals, weren't they? But both references to buy and hold the market, hold it for a long period of time. You'll do fine.
Just like you've been saying.
So I've got, honest to God, about 17 quotes. I'm going to have to choose 2 or 3 maximum. So I know. So number 1 is from Winston Churchill, and he says, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Number 2, from Maya Angelou. She said, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it.
Yeah, do you know what? I like that a lot. That's really good.
She's got she's got loads of quotes. Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he said, financial freedom is freedom from fear. There's a lot of people who are worried about so many things, constantly worried about it. And there's only so many things you can control. So, yeah, and I'm going to give one last one because I quite like this one. And it's from Henry David Thoreau. And he said, apparently, success usually comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. I wonder if you agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I did a presentation to Coventry University this week, and one of the questions on afterwards, like, you're talking about intention and achieving stuff. I think things just happen by default. And I was like, I'm not so sure. Things might happen by default, but you normally got to go after.
Henry's wrong. Henry, you're wrong. Yeah, I mean, he's not around for me to tell you. I think you definitely need structure, don't you? You need structure. You need someone to give you a nudge, and you're much more likely to sort of achieve your goals.
I agree. Okay.
On that bombshell, should we wrap up?
Thanks for tuning into the Finance Geeks. That's it for today. I will be back next time to discuss your future success in 2025.
See you guys.
Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Finance Geeks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments on YouTube. Got questions? Send them our way. Follow us on social media and join us next time for more insights to boost your financial planning game.